Hi everyone, in today's lesson we are going to look at angles of a triangle, and the focus will be on three triangles. So we'll be looking at a right angle triangle, the isosceles triangle, as well as the equilateral triangle. Right, so in this video I'm going to look at all three triangles, and our focus is mainly to know the properties of each triangles, as well as how to use these properties to find the unknown angles. So let's first talk about right angled triangle. Now, what are some of the properties of right angled triangle? So by now this is mainly a recap for you, because in your explore stage you should have already talked a little bit about, or you should have discovered what are some of the properties of a right angled triangle. So the first thing definitely is that there is one right angle. Okay, so right angle meaning it is 90 degrees. Alright, now the second thing you should know, and this is true for all triangles, is that the three angles will always add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so the sum of all angles in a triangle is always 180 degrees. So there's something that you must remember. Okay, now if you think about it logically, if this is 90 degrees, then what is ABC and BAC? So what is angle ABC plus angle BAC? What do you think it will add up to? If all three angles add up to 180 and this is 90, yeah, definitely these two angles will always add up to 90 degrees as well. So this is quite an important concept that you must remember. Okay, so that is right angled triangle. So let's look at an example and let's try and figure out how to do this. Now in the triangle ABC, CAB is a right angle. Okay, so we've got CAB, which is a right angle here, and ACB is 60 degrees. Okay, now always remember one thing, always update your diagram. Whatever is given, if they did not update it for you, you write it in. Okay, and it's always sometimes good if once you see this sign, just put in the measurement 90 degrees. Okay, so it reminds you. So I want to find angle ABC, which is this angle here. So how do I do it? So let's recall, sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees, and if this is 90 degrees, so all I need to do is to find angle ABC. That will be 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 60 degrees, and if you work up your sums, alright, and the answer will be 30 degrees. Okay, so ABC is 30 degrees. It's very simple, right? It's a very simple concept. Just remember the properties. Okay, so why don't you give this a try? So take out your video worksheet. So write this down in your worksheet and proceed to find angle MLM, which is this angle. And then we'll come back to class and discuss. Now let's move on to the isosceles triangle. Alright, so let's look at what are some of the properties of the isosceles triangle. So one thing you need to take note is the isosceles triangle has two equal sides. Okay, this is something that's important. This side, PQ, and PR is two equal sides. And how do they indicate that? They indicate that using this line over here. So this dash here tells you that PQ is equal to PR. Okay, so I can have any other triangle. Alright, if I do this, this means these two are equal. Alright, so that's what the dash means. So if there are two equal sides, this means it's an isosceles triangle. And one more thing about isosceles triangle is there are two equal angles. So where are the two equal angles? Yeah, it's PQR, this angle, and PRQ, this angle here. So the two angles at the base of the isosceles triangle, okay, where it touches the two sides, it is the equal angle. So let's say for this, where my two equal angles are equal, it's this two. Alright, so I can have a triangle that looks like this as well. If these two sides are equal, then these two are my equal angles. So the ones at the base where it touches the two equal sides. Alright, so that's something that you need to remember about the isosceles triangle. Okay, so let's try this. If I have DEF, DE is equal to DF, so that's why I indicated with the dash. Angle EDF is 78 degrees. I'm supposed to find angle E. Okay, so because E and F are equal, so that means that if I take 180 minus 78, okay, if I take 180 degrees minus 78 degrees, what I will get is E plus F, right? E plus F. So how do I find E alone? Now because they are equal, I can, what do? Yes, I divide by 2. So angle E is equal to 180 degrees minus 78 divided by 2. And so if you go and work it out, use a calculator or calculate it out, you should get this as your answer. So your answer will be 51 degrees. And that's quite simple. Now let's look at another example. I have ABC here. AB is equal to AC and ABC is 39, so it's all given here. So I'm supposed to find angle BAC. Okay? So now, if you notice carefully, this time around, this is given. So remember, there are equal angles, the ones that touches the two equal sides. So if this here is 39, obviously this here is 39 as well. And so if this is 39, this is 39, I can easily find this because the sum of the angles in a triangle is always 180 degrees. So angle BAC is equal to 180 degrees minus 39 degrees minus 39 degrees. And if you go and calculate it out, you will get 102 degrees. Now, always remember, check whether your answer is reasonable. 102, does this look like a 102 angle? Yeah, it does. Okay, because it's greater than 90. It's an obtuse angle. So let's try this, or rather you will try this on your own. Take out your video worksheet, pause the video, work out the sums, and then move on to the last part where we will talk about equilateral triangle. Before we move on to equilateral triangle, I want you to think about this. Can a right angled triangle be an isosceles triangle? I repeat myself. Can a right angled triangle be an isosceles triangle? Yes or no? I'm not going to tell you the answer. Come back to class, discuss this with your teachers. So let's move on to equilateral triangle. Now equilateral triangles, what are the properties? Well, equilateral triangles, all three sides are equal. Hence, you see 3 dashes. So all three sides, the length is equal, and what's more, the angles are all equal. So if the angles are all equal and all must add up to 180, what would the angles, each angle be? Yeah, each angle is 60 degrees. Okay? So equilateral triangle is very simple. The angle of an equilateral triangle is always 60. You cannot run away from it. So that makes things much simpler. Let's look at this example. ABC, equilateral triangle. So that means this, and this are all the same. Okay. Find BAD, angle BAD. So I'll find this angle. So how do I do that? Okay. Now, oftentimes questions are not so straightforward. They will mix different types of triangles together. So you need to use whatever you've learned for right angle, isosceles, and equilateral to come and help solve this puzzle. Alright? Always think of it as a puzzle. I like to think of angles in a triangle as a puzzle. So it's fun to solve it. So let's take a look. BAD. Now what do I know? Okay, I know that it's an equilateral triangle. So if it's an equilateral triangle, these are all 60 degrees. So sometimes it will be useful to just write down what you know. Okay? So this is 60. Now this is 90 degrees. If this here is 90 degrees, what is this here? Yeah, it's also 90 degrees. Alright, because angles on a line is 180 degrees. Okay, so again, whatever you learned in angles at a point, angles at a line, vertically opposite angles must and can be applied here as well. Alright, so don't forget them. So if this is 90 degrees, this is 60, what is this? Easy, right? So angle BAD is not so bad after all. 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 60 degrees, and what you will get is 30 degrees. And that is how simple it is to solve a question. this is your turn to try. So this will be the last question in your video worksheet. So this is what you need to write down. This was not given in your video worksheet. So you're supposed to find B, D, C. And you notice nothing else is given to you. But I'm sure you can try and solve it. Okay, so solve it and then we'll come back to class to discuss. So in summary, what have we learned? We've learned that a right-angled triangle has a 90 degree angle here. And because of that, the other two angles are also 90 degrees. Okay? Isosceles triangle, two sides have the same length because the two angles that touches the two sides are equal. Okay? Equilateral triangle, all three sides are equal and all three angles are equal, which means all three angles will give you 60 degrees. Alright, so these are some of the properties that you need to learn, and because of these properties, it will help you to solve and find the unknown angles. Okay, I hope you have learned something, and I hope you have fun in class the next day. See you.